Hi, everyone. Hope you're having an amazing day. Today is Tuesday, September 22nd, and this is your second stimulus and news update, where I try to give you a quick and detailed summary of the latest stimulus and pandemic news. Hit the bell button to stay notified. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe and smash that like button if you enjoy the content. Let's get into it. Believe it or not, we are at the risk of another government shutdown. I really wonder what these politicians do with their time. Do you guys remember the last government shutdown? The last government shutdown was a long one, which occurred from December 2018 to January 2019. That was almost 2 years ago now. During that time, there were many government programs which relied on funding to be renewed annually by Congress. So it was a huge disaster during that time to keep some of these programs going. We definitely don't want to have that happen again. And it's amazing that they are even considering a shutdown, given all that is going on right now in terms of the pandemic, the election, and the Supreme Court justice nomination. So yesterday on Monday, the House Democrats introduced a short-term stopgap bill to avoid another government shutdown. The bill was released to fund the government until December 11th, which is now less than 1 month after the election. However, the bill did not have the backing of Republicans, and a bipartisan deal on funding has not yet been reached, as many Republicans did not agree with the measures stated by the Democrats. In a statement, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that the House Democrat release measure will avert a catastrophic shutdown in the middle of an ongoing pandemic, wildfires, hurricanes, and keep the government open until December 11th, when we plan to have a bipartisan legalization to fund the government for this fiscal year. So it's just ridiculous. Can you imagine not having enough money to deal with the wildfires, or not enough money to help those on social assistance? Like, these are mandatory programs. There's only 9 days remaining until the current funding runs out. The vote will be on Tuesday today. Then the bill will be passed in the Republican Senate as well, in order to avoid the potential October 1st shutdown. So there's two main points of disagreement between the two parties on the current bill. One, farm aid for the Commodity Credit Corporation. This entity provides money for farmers who have suffered on hard times and have experienced losses. Two, funding to replenish pandemic electronic benefit transfer, a subsidy for families with children who would otherwise not be able to have meals, and they basically receive the free or subsidized meals when the schools are open. These two issues have been very contentious between the two parties. And there was a quote from Evan Hollander, the communications director for Democrats on the House Appropriations Committee. He responded by tweeting that the Democrats have passed more than $30 billion in targeted and tailored emergency aid to farm country. And many senators have blocked this for months. This GOP proposal isn't about farmers. It's about political slush fund for the Trump re-election campaign. And Pelosi added, and she said, "We continue to believe that the Congress should complete its work by passing full appropriation bills by December, which the House has already done, and that these bills meet the health and economic needs of the American people." Okay, on to the Supreme Court justice nomination news. So as I said, right now, all of Washington's focus seems to be on the upcoming Supreme Court nomination. And it seems both sides are not even that interested in these types of debates on government funding or even the upcoming shutdown. So the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Sunday's interview, she mentioned that she would not leverage a government shutdown in order to slow down Republicans' push to fill the Supreme Court vacancy following the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was quoted as saying, "None of us has any interest in shutting down government, and that has such a harmful and shameful impact on so many people in the country," Pelosi told ABC's George Stephanopoulos. So with the death of the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Trump has really shown he's pretty eager to get a replacement in as soon as possible and try not to disrupt the momentum of what's going on with the election. The Democrats, although they seem largely powerless to stop Republicans from confirming their choice, the Democrats, they have a few tactics to kind of slow the confirmation progress, as Pelosi alluded to, but the Republicans only need 50 Republicans to approve Trump's pick for the candidate to be seated. There was a quote from one of the Democrat senators, Michael Bennet, and he said, "We're in a situation where Mitch McConnell is the only person in this building that can decide when and where and how to move the nomination forward. My hope is that there will be enough Republicans to stop it, but I don't think the likelihood is high." So he agrees, and they might have kind of low power to block the choice. And there's currently about 3 conservative female judges at the top of Trump's Supreme Court list. Any of these 3 women would draw immediate support from Republican-controlled Senate. So one of the candidates is Allison Jones Rushing. She's only 38 years old. The second one is Barbara Lagona. She's 52. And the consensus likely pick to get the nomination is Coney Barrett, 48 years old. And these 3 judges were appointed by Trump to the federal appellate court judgeships in the past, and they're the top runners for who could get Trump's nominees for a seat to replace RBG, who served on the court for 27 years. So currently the Supreme Court is tilted in a 5-4 conservative edge. And if another Republican biased judge is added, it would tilt the court favor 6-3 in the favor of conservatives. So there would be a big edge on conservative topics that are voted, which is a very big deal. So Trump is set to announce his candidate this week. He's trying to push it aggressively, as I said. He was quoted as saying his choice would be, quote unquote, a woman very talented and very brilliant. So as background, Trump has already appointed 2 justices for the court. In 2018, it was Brett Kavanaugh, and in 2017, it was Neil Gorsuch. Whoever Trump nominates, they will be facing huge opposition from the Democrats. As I said, they don't have much power. They can kind of stall, but there's going to be a lot of internal fighting, as we've seen. And many Democrats are insisting that nominations should only be made after the November 3rd election. Even the Republicans have been a bit non-committal as Trump pushes forward for a pre-election Supreme Court vote. The Republicans are weighing the risks of holding a confirmation before and after the November 3rd election. So even within his own party, there's a lot of, undecisiveness and fighting within the Republican Party. So let's move on to the COVID numbers. So worldwide, there was 31.3 million cases. And as I said previously, this trend line doesn't look too good. It looks like a stock chart that's kind of going sideways, and it's about to break out in terms of infections. So it's not looking that good. In the United States, there was 39,000 new cases in United States, 6.85 million worldwide, and California has 790 cases. So it's closing in on that 800,000 mark. There was a lot of coronavirus news in London. There was a report by their one of their top health officials that's saying the exponential rate in which infections are going now, there could potentially be 50,000 new cases in October, which is huge. And, the PM basically, Boris Johnson went 180 degrees on some of his policies, and he's ordered pubs to close at 10 p.m. and they have a kind of a COVID alert system, and they raised that rating to 4 out of 5, which is a high rating. And, Boris Johnson, he will unveil a major crackdown on basically behaviors in normal life in trying to stop the second wave that's emerging in the UK. And the PM will drop his back to work drive, restricting socialization and impose a 10 p.m. curfew on bars and restaurants. Pubs and other venues will only be allowed to serve customers in a very draconian measure on Thursday. So it's very selective. Business and schools will be allowed to stay open, but these coronavirus restrictions have divided the UK Parliament quite decisively. And there's also news, there's record infections in Netherlands, and in Spain, in Madrid, the capital. The city mayor wants the army to help kind of slow down the infection rate. So there's a major second wave, looks like to be breaking out in Europe, and you can see that the stock market had a major sell-off yesterday in response to this. So that's everything for your Tuesday update. Please have an amazing Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.